really good feature, and I've been arguing with the Muse about it for the last week. The Muse won. The Muse wants to do the fantastic, fabulous idea in a separate filmed thing with bands and stuff like that. So tonight we're just going to do some poetry. It's one about the Muse. In my room, I'm in the now, standing at the junction between depression and happiness. One step back, decay, death of yesterday. One step forward, positive potential of tomorrow. Or was that one step left or right? It does not matter, because suddenly reality is a meaningless hypothetical question. Safety off, hammer cocked, weight of steel against back of head. You have me hostage. I'd seen you at the edges of my perception, a ninja noun performing acrobatic adjectives, heard snippets of your conversation, whispered in languages indecipherable, felt you nudge me while walking crowded streets, striding long, empty roads to nowhere. So it is no great surprise you're here with me now. Unspoken imperative forces me towards table. I sit down, spread paper, select pen. An expectant silence pervades the room. I feel a rivulet of sweat trickle down the nape of my neck as I put pen to paper. Bang! You shoot through skull carapace, savagely ripping through brain tissue, triggering neurons, firing synapses, filling my head with a kaleidoscope of images. Ink splatters on the page. My head aches with a longing for meaning as my pen scratches random drops of ink into ordered words. After a time, I do not know how long, I put down pen and gaze at pages of poetry. You have left, returning to the secret place where imagination lives. I can but wait till next time. My muse inspires creativity with an idea in the back of my head.
Hey, yeah.
So that's the Muse. This is me, the poet. Action poet! The ideas have me cornered in the margin. Whipping out pen, I fire a fusillade of ink cartridges while diving into a tumbling roll towards safety of a new line. Suddenly, an exclamation mark explodes between lines near my head. Looking up, I see an idea firing down at me from title. Snap-off shot, which connects, sending idea tumbling down into recycle bin. Apostrophes and commas fill the air as I running right at a slant towards a heading marked plot. Launching myself, I kick it open, my flight carrying me over, a question mark booby trap the ideas have laid to cast doubt in my thought process. Running down paragraph, I turn page to encounter a group of ideas loaded with parentheses. Without slowing, I catapult into them to engage in hand-to-hand diction. Chop, chop, kick, punch, punch, backward somersault, punch, punch, kick, chop, chop. They go down in a tangled metaphor. Grabbing one by neck, I drag it into a nearby paragraph. As it groggily comes back to consciousness, I begin to interrogate. Where is the meaning? It refuses to answer, so I resort to indiscriminate editing. After a few sentences, it succumbs. The meaning is at the bottom of the page. Other ideas are trying to enter plot, so full stop idea, leap through space to another page in a shower of shattered thought. Meaning is cowering at the bottom of the page. It has a blank expression on its face as I sweep it into my arms. Dodging into the library, the librarian seems confused, but seeing me covered in ink gives me a simile and points me to hidden clause, which provides a temporary refrain for me to debrief meaning. Word by word, I am amazed at the complexity of the conspiracy the ideas have been hatching. As suspected, mainstream media is involved masterminding paperback fiction. on a grand scale, the target, public consciousness, with the objective of dumbing down population. I switch on Wi-Fi, begin to transmit sentences to my computer, but just as I'm about to send, ideas burst in from everywhere. I throw in meaning to the side, I frantically edit in a flurry of keystrokes. One by one, the ideas fall onto the page as they are hit by the force of my imagination. Send. Poem published. Creativity wins again. Yeah. It's always very disconcerting when you're doing a poem and your microphone's getting lower and lower. As a poet, I do not need millions of dollars, just a few bucks to buy pens and paper to write the truth about the world. Letters of language lamenting lost lands, written words wrestling with wrongs, sentences spelling out subjugation and slavery, paragraphs portraying poverty and pollution, pages protesting perverted political power and propaganda, essays exposing egos and exploitation, captions and comments caricaturing capitalism, enlightened elocution on environmental education, adjectives and alliteration announcing answers to adversity, acrostic arrangements advocating awareness, dictionaries of dialogue discussing disease and drug dependence, syntax and similes sabotaging sickness, satirical syllables silencing social stereotypes, sarcastic stanzas stopping sexual suppression, imaginative ink inciting insurrection against inequalities, verses of verbs and vocabulary vilifying violence, monologues of metaphors mocking mayhem and murder, ballads belittling bullying with bombs, narratives of nouns nullifying nuclear nonsense, tenets and truisms terminating tactical torture and terrorism, wisdom and witticisms wrecking war, pamphlets, posters and placards promoting perpetual peace, quilled quips questioning quandaries, quarrels and quorums, lexicon and limericks lambasting laughable leaders, prose provocatively poking politicians, rhetoric ridiculing royalty and rulers, diction destroying dynasties and dictatorships, omnipotent oration of odes overthrowing oppression, rhymes resulting in revolution against revolting, sonnets seeking salvation of sensibilities, free verse facilitating finding of freedoms, epistemological enunciation eradicating evil, power of people's poetry promising proverbial paradise. I do not need your money. I just need you to listen to and act on my words. A message from our sponsor, Mobile Phone XYZ123, sponsoring mining in third world country. Before dawn, the girl began walking to the mine site. Freezing temperature on feet, belying later scorching midday heat that would assault her body in indentured labour. Scrabbling through dust for nuggets of precious metal, used to build foreign mobile phones, communicating trivia and self-identity. No one would talk or worry about her lost childhood. Mobile Phone XYZ123 promoting manufacturing in third world country. Her grandmother had once made batik sarongs for the village, treasured by proud wearers for their beauty. Her mother had once made sarongs for tourism, valued for their local handmade authenticity. At age 6, she helped both in a factory, constructing mobile phones, valueless gadgets being shipped overseas from a sweatshop stealing minute by minute, her lost childhood. Mobile phone XYZ 123 promoting recycling in third world country. The boy, an island of humanity in a sea of garbage, picking through flotsam for pearls of metal and glass, ever mindful of undertows, collapsing waves of refuse, dragging him under to rotting waste drowning, hoping for elusive treasure from tourists to please his master waiting with keys to survival, food, water, sustaining his lost childhood. Mobile phone XYZ 123 promoting child slavery in third world country. Well, if you didn't come to the Nimbin Performance Poetry World Cup this year, I'm taking pity on you. I'm going to do the piece that I did. And first weekend of September, it's on again. It's the 20th anniversary of this great event. Thanks very much to Gail M. Clark.
Okay, Gail.
At the desk. Who's the coordinates it every year. And big thanks to Zeb and Sunita, who helped take us into the modern technological world. And we've been experimenting the last couple of years with streaming. And next year we're hoping to stream the Cup worldwide.
Whoa.
In line with this, you'll notice on your table, poor people over there haven't got one, but Vocable poetry is on tomorrow night. This is part of our training process, getting ready for the Cup, where we have a poet. In this instance, Mariska is going to be a feature poet tomorrow night. And various open mic people are going to get up, and we project pictures, and we've got a band performing music, and we're streaming it, and we're streaming a special guest poet from Victoria in to the building. And tell them Wagga. Wagga. Oh, Victoria sounds so much better than Wagga.
It's actually pronounced Wagga Wagga.
Wagga Wagga. Yeah, actually, I know some poets in Wagga Wagga. There's a strong contingent. Anyway, tomorrow night, 23 Newbridge Street. Come along and experience poetry outside the box. Yeah, off the spectrum. Lismore. Office workers like birds of prey fly in and out of cafe, clutching cups of takeaway, beverage in manicured talons. Pensioner pilgrims paying postcards on pavement pedestal tables, periodically pausing to peruse passing power walking pedestrians. Inside, the rich aroma of coffee and cooking wafts into nostrils like an exotic dancer's perfume, a symphony of sizzling and boiling punctuated by percussion of pots, pans and short order chopping, backed by a chorus of customer chatting and laughter. Couples eating croissants converse on courtship, families feast on French toast and fries, hippies solve world problems with vegetarian option, an old lady cuddles a cup of cocoa to coax warmth to her bones. Middle-aged men are seeking truth, reading daily tabloid fiction. Students suck straws of smoothies between studied sentence. A duo of dumpy dames are daring each other to decadently devour delicious desserts. This is Lismore's last scene of normal before the coming of rain. Rain used to be a friend who tickled our senses. The soothing staccato sound of her drops on tin roof, the different pitches she created with drizzle, showers and storm, the tingling sensation we felt on our skin as she trickled away, her taste of relief, quenching our thirst on a hot summer's day, the inner sense that rain was the source of life, hid her dark side of destruction and strife. Lulled by gentle days by the river, We came to believe that rain was a giver, forgetting her incessant showers that left us wet, shivering and cold, living damp existence covered in layers of mould, forgiving rain's denial of help in a drought, the death of the garden that left us without. The garden replanted, the sun shone again. We dried ourselves, cleaned house, and waited for when rain would return as a friend. She returned as tumultuous tempest with torrential downpour, unrelenting, savage and grim. The hills flowed with water as God's aqueous daughter showed the town was not built to swim. The gentle river swelled to deliver a flood that consumed all. And as we climbed higher up hills, roofs and spires, rain continued to fall. We screamed out curses and prayers to nature's deaf ears as the land was saturated, abandoned hopes and cares, embracing our fears as our lives were inundated, turned off worldly affairs because all we could hear was rain pouring down unabated, a downpour of biblical proportion, only matched by our outpouring of grief as news reached us of friends who had drowned. We desperately clutched the news bulletin portion of heroic rescues with a sense of relief, greedily grabbing small gratitudes for the people who were safely found. In the still aftermath of watery apocalypse, the town is a turbulent, garbage-strewn lake. Rain that's still spitting as we spit expletives, pushed beyond what we can possibly take. We emerged like soggy rats from a sodden, sunken ship, eyes glazed with abject horror and shock. Limped through fetid flood debris, filthy mud, making us slip, unable to believe or take stock. How could our friend rain have wrought such destruction on our lives, families, friends, animals, and construction? As the flood waters receded, we saw the things that we needed, food, water, shelter, were gone. Our culture lay in gutters, in wet, smelly lumps, abandoned cars randomly parked up on humps, houses and caravans pushed off their stumps, small groups of survivors gathered in clumps, watching news helicopters fly around. The town a star in a disaster movie, where the special effects were real. Time lapse of infrastructure collapse, visually and mentally surreal. Mud sucked at our feet, mud sucked out our souls. We sucked mud in with every breath. Mud on all that we meet, mud way up our poles, mud our new metaphor for death. We piled deceased possessions in the street, a flood funeral for what we once owned. Bent and water-damaged furniture, mouldy clothes and drowned memories, ripped pictures, spoiled food and destroyed toys, games and hobbies, rusty electrical appliances, broken household commodities, crumpled plastic, smashed glass and rubble, aeroplanes wrapped around trees. The news cameras showed huge piles of rubbish, but we only saw people's piled lives. As a mud army, we worked tirelessly to help those in their hour of need, volunteers giving endlessly, motivated by love as a seed that grew into a flower of resilience, recovery through community. The flood was the conversation on everybody's lips. The flood, the overwhelming question that had minds in its grip. How did it happen? Who is to blame? What is the future now? Then rain, falling again, changed the game to a question of how. How could it be flooding again? Rain was not taking questions, just retaking control, demonstrating her strength, causing traffic congestion, destruction her goal, as the river flooded along its length. The disaster not as bad, but we were sad to have to start clean up once more. We tried to forget what we had, attempt to be glad that the clean start had opened a door to projects we had not seen before. Rain still hangs around, but we have found she is no longer our friend. When we hear the sound of her hitting the ground, there is a fear that never ends, terror of flood, drowning in mud, is the message rain's presence sends. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.